Amla was a young girl who lived with her parents in a busy town. Her father recently got a new job in a quiet village far away. The family decided to move there for a better life. They wanted peace, fresh air, and a simple life away from the noise of the city. Amla was excited at first. She thought the village would be full of green fields, birds, and friendly people. After a long journey, they reached their new house. It was very big, much larger than their old home. The house was built of dark wood and stone, and it looked old. There were cracks on the walls, and the windows were covered in dust. The garden outside was wild, with weeds growing everywhere. Amla looked at the house and felt something strange in her heart. It was not happiness. It was a feeling she could not explain, cold, heavy, and uncomfortable. The villagers came to meet them. Some were polite and smiled, but Amla noticed something unusual. When her father spoke proudly about buying the house, the villagers became quiet. Their eyes showed fear. One old woman whispered to Amla's mother, "This house is not safe." But her mother quickly ignored the warning, thinking it was only a village superstition. That night, Amla went to her new bedroom. The moonlight entered through the broken curtains. She tried to sleep, but kept hearing strange sounds. The wooden floor creaked as if someone was walking. The cupboard door opened a little on its own. Amla pulled the blanket over her head, telling herself it was just the wind. But deep inside, she felt the same heavy presence again, like invisible eyes were watching her every move. From that very first night, Amla knew something was wrong with the house. But she could not imagine the darkness that was waiting for her. The days passed slowly in the new house. Amla's parents were busy arranging furniture and cleaning rooms, but Amla spent most of her time alone. She walked through the long corridors, her footsteps echoing on the wooden floor. The house was always quiet, yet Amla often felt she was not alone. One evening, while playing in the living room, she heard footsteps upstairs. She thought it was her mother and called out, "Mama." But no one answered. When she climbed the stairs, the hall was empty. The sound of footsteps faded away, as if the person had disappeared into thin air. Another night, the family was having dinner when the kitchen door slowly opened by itself. The air turned cold, and the light flickered. Her father laughed nervously, saying it was just the wind, but Amla knew the windows were closed. She felt a shiver run down her spine. The strangest thing happened when Amla began talking to someone unseen. At first, her parents thought she was only pretending, like a game with an imaginary friend. But Amla's conversations grew longer and stranger. She would sit in the corner of her room, whispering. Sometimes she even paused, as if she was listening to someone reply. When her mother asked, "Who are you talking to?" Amla calmly said, "My new friend. He lives here too." Her mother felt uneasy and told her to stop. But Amla smiled and said, "He doesn't like when you tell me that." Her voice sounded different, colder, like it wasn't really her. Soon, shadows began moving along the walls even when no one was near. Doors opened, chairs shifted, and strange knocks echoed at night. Amla's parents tried to ignore it, but the house was no longer peaceful. Something was growing inside the walls of that house, something dark, waiting to take control. And Amla was slowly being drawn closer to it. Amla was not the same little girl anymore. Her parents noticed the change first in her eyes. Sometimes, when she was angry, her eyes looked darker, almost black, as if a shadow had entered them. She stopped playing outside and preferred sitting alone in her room, whispering to the friend only she could see. Her mother tried to make her laugh, but Amla only stared without expression. When her father asked her simple questions, she answered in a deep, strange voice that did not sound like her. The sound made both parents shiver. At night, the family could hear her footsteps moving quickly from one room to another, even though she was supposed to be in bed. Sometimes her laughter echoed through the halls, low, cruel, and nothing like the sweet laugh they remembered. One morning, Amla's mother found scratches on the walls of her bedroom. They were long and deep, as if made by sharp claws. Her mother asked her who did it. Amla calmly replied, "He told me to. He likes it when I mark the walls for him." The parents grew frightened. They thought maybe she was sick, maybe something was wrong in her mind. They decided to call a doctor from the nearby town. But when the doctor visited, Amla acted completely normal in front of him. She smiled sweetly and answered his questions politely, like an innocent child. The doctor left, saying she was perfectly healthy. That night, however, Amla attacked her mother during sleep. She stood beside the bed and whispered in that same deep, chilling voice, "She doesn't belong here." "Only I do." Her mother screamed as Amla's small hands tightened around her neck. Her father rushed in, pulling Amla away, but the girl's strength was unnatural, far stronger than a child should have. When she finally let go, she laughed again, an empty, terrifying laugh that echoed through the house. The change in Amla was no longer small. It was clear something dark had taken root inside her. The family could no longer hide from the truth. Amla was getting worse with each passing day. Her face looked pale, her eyes empty, and she rarely ate food. The house grew colder at night, and the sound of whispers filled the rooms. Her parents were desperate. They needed answers. One afternoon, an old priest named Father Joseph visited the village. He was known for helping families troubled by dark spirits. When Amla's father heard about him, he begged the priest to come to their house. Father Joseph agreed, though his face grew serious the moment he heard which house it was. When he stepped inside, the air turned heavy. He walked through the rooms silently, his eyes scanning the walls and floors. Finally, he looked at Amla, who sat quietly in the corner. She did not blink, she did not smile. Her eyes followed him with an intensity that made even the priest uneasy. Father Joseph sat with the parents and spoke in a low voice. "This house carries a curse," he explained. "Many years ago, a woman lived here. She was not ordinary. She practiced black magic, dark rituals that harmed others. She died in this very house, but her spirit never left. She wanders still, seeking a body to use." The mother gasped and covered her mouth. The father shook his head in disbelief, but deep inside, he knew it explained everything. Father Joseph warned them, "The spirit has chosen Amla. She is young, weak, and pure. That makes her the easiest to control. If nothing is done soon, your daughter will not remain your daughter. She will be gone, and only the spirit will live inside her." The parents begged him for help. Father Joseph agreed to prepare for a cleansing ritual. But he also gave a grave warning. The battle will be hard. The spirit is powerful and it will not leave quietly. For the first time, Amla spoke. Her lips curled into a strange smile, and in a chilling voice, she whispered, "He's lying. I will never leave." The night after Father Joseph's visit, the house became darker than ever. The air felt heavy, and the walls seemed to groan as if the house itself was alive. Amla sat on her bed, staring at the ceiling, her lips moving as though she was speaking to someone no one else could see. Suddenly, her body stiffened. Her back arched, and she let out a scream so loud it shook the windows. Her parents rushed into the room and froze in horror. Amla's eyes were pitch black, and her voice came out deep and harsh. "She is mine now." Her small body moved in ways that were impossible. Her arms twisted backward, her head tilted unnaturally, and yet she laughed as if the pain gave her joy. Her father tried to hold her down, but she threw him across the room with strength no child could have. The sound of his body hitting the wall echoed like thunder. Her mother cried out in fear, but Amala turned toward her with a smile so wicked it didn't look human. She crawled across the floor on all fours, her movements fast and animal-like, growling like a beast. The room grew icy cold. The family locked her inside, but the house itself seemed to shake. Loud bangs echoed on the door, and Amala's voice shouted from inside, sometimes sounding like a little girl, sometimes like 100 voices screaming at once. Throughout the night, strange things happened. The walls were scratched from the inside, furniture moved by itself, and shadows danced across the ceilings. Amala no longer looked like their daughter. She had become something else, something terrifying. When dawn arrived, Father Joseph returned. But he saw the fear in the parents' eyes before they even spoke. He already knew. The possession was complete. Amala was no longer just a victim, she was the vessel of the dark spirit. And the battle to save her soul had only just begun. Father Joseph returned to the house with holy water, a wooden cross, and his old prayer book. The moment he stepped inside, the air turned icy. The windows shook, and a foul smell spread through the rooms. He looked at Amala's parents and said firmly, "Do not be afraid. But stay strong. This spirit will fight to stay." They unlocked Amala's door. Inside, the girl was sitting on the floor, her head bent low. Her long hair covered her face. For a moment, she looked silent, almost calm. But when Father Joseph entered, her head jerked up. Her eyes were completely black, and her mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "You cannot take her from me," the voice boomed, deep and echoing, though it came from Amala's small body. Father Joseph held up the cross and began the exorcism prayers. At once, the room exploded with chaos. The lights flickered, objects flew across the room, and the walls rattled as if an earthquake had struck. Amala's body lifted into the air, her arms stretched wide, as if invisible hands were pulling her upward. Her parents cried out, but Father Joseph commanded them to stay back. He sprinkled holy water, and Amala screamed, a scream so loud it felt like glass shattering. Her voice shifted from that of a child to that of an angry, ancient woman. "This is my house. She is mine forever." Father Joseph continued, his voice firm, repeating the sacred words again and again. The battle went on for hours. Sometimes Amala cried in her own voice, "Papa, help me." Other times, the demonic voice mocked, "She is gone. You only have me now." Sweat dripped down Father Joseph's face, but he did not stop. Every prayer weakened the spirit, though the fight was fierce. The family watched helplessly, praying their daughter would return. As the night dragged on, the true test of faith had begun. The battle for Amala's soul was reaching its most dangerous moment. The long night finally reached its darkest hour. Father Joseph stood in front of Amala, his hands shaking, but his voice still strong. Amala's body floated above the bed, her face pale, her eyes rolling back. The deep, demonic voice roared through her, "You cannot win. She is mine." The priest pressed the cross to her forehead and shouted the final prayers louder than ever. Holy water splashed across her skin, and smoke rose as if fire burned inside her. Amala screamed, a scream that was not hers, but of something ancient and furious. The windows cracked, the floor trembled, and the lights burst into darkness. Her parents fell to their knees, covering their ears, tears streaming down their faces. They could hear two voices inside their daughter, one crying like a frightened child, the other roaring like a beast. The battle was reaching its final moment. Then, just as the first light of dawn broke through the cracked curtains, Amala's body fell back onto the bed. She gasped for air, her eyes turning normal once again. For a moment, silence filled the room. Father Joseph whispered one last prayer, and with it came the spirit's final scream. The sound echoed like thunder and then faded into nothing. Amala lay still. Her mother rushed forward, holding her close, crying her name. Slowly, Amala opened her eyes. "Mama," she whispered weakly. The dark presence was gone. Father Joseph, exhausted, warned them in a low, tired voice. "The spirit is driven out, but this house remains cursed. Evil lingers here. If you love your daughter, you must leave and never return." The family wasted no time. By the evening, they packed their belongings and left the village forever. As their car disappeared down the road, the old house stood silent, its windows like dark eyes watching. And though Amala was free, the villagers whispered that the spirit still waited inside, hungry for the next soul to possess. The family left the cursed house behind, but its windows still watch the road in silence. And deep inside those walls, the spirit waits for the next soul it can claim. Pause, softer voice. If this story sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more terrifying tales. Thank you for listening, and remember, the darkness is always closer than you think.